Today we're going to visit Ben Benson's, a quintessential American restaurant and one of my favorites. And Ben, he's got quite a story. A Brooklyn boy, born and bred, Ben's a great story. Lived in Great Neck, Long Island, where he and a former neighbor and schoolmate, classmate, buddy of his, none other than Alan Stillman, helped get TGI Fridays moving. Well, here we are. I just had a great lunch, and I'm happy to report that, as always, there's a Ben Benson at Ben Benson's. For the two of you New Yorkers that don't know him, let me introduce Ben Benson to you. Ben, you've been in this business for a heck of a long time, and I love the story behind this restaurant before it became this. How did you get involved in this crazy business? You're a New Yorker, born and raised, born in Brooklyn.
New Yorker, born and bred. Yep. And I just can't see living anywhere else. I got into the business through a friend who wanted to meet stewardesses. We were both salesmen in different industries. A guy I knew from my college days and growing up in originally Brooklyn and then Great Neck. And this crazy guy wanted to meet stewardesses, and he saw a little bar on the corner of 63rd and 1st that was doing no business. Seemed to be construction workers sitting at the bar every day having a 35-cent a shot drink. And he went in and made a deal with the guy, bought the place for very little money. And that became TGI. That was the beginning of now world famous TGI Fridays.
And for those that don't know the New York history, your friend who wanted to meet stewardess was none other than Alan Stillman. So Alan and Ben started with Fridays, and then Thursdays, and then a place called Wednesdays, and they were on a roll. Finally, they sold them all, and in 1979, the two of them opened Smith & Wollensky's together. Alan, at this point, wanted to franchise the business, and Ben didn't, and they parted amicably. And Ben, in 1982, opened Ben Benson's. I've walked past here a million times. It's a midtown location, and usually, it's guys in suits and kind of a little off the block, a little off of 6th Avenue. And I finally came in for a meal, and I was just stunned at how great the food was. And, it's like a classic. I mean, nowadays there's people creating these classic American menus or American cuisine. Well, this is really it. I mean, this is really one of the great American restaurants. Where'd the idea come from? What did you have in mind when you went to open this?
What we were doing was taking the concept of those great New York steakhouses, the Palms and the Peter Lugers and the Pen and Pencil and Chris Sellers, and trying to make the menu a little bit more varied, but do what they did, which was buy the best product, prepare it very simply, and that is the classic American meal. The sirloin steak, the shrimp cocktail, the cream spinach, the hash brown potatoes, and try to do it better than everybody else does.
Order, filao, pop, split medium well, sirloin medium, chicken parmesan, hash brown.
And then add to that you've got these great lunch specials like the chicken pot pie, beef stews. You've got a fair amount of fish on the menu that's wonderful. Your side dishes are great.
Well, the fish. I think the great New York Steakhouse is a place in New York where you get your best fish. Because once again, you have to buy the best fish available, because you're not saucing it. You're just putting that plain piece of fish out there.
And what's the weight of that? It's got to be 3.5, 4 pounds. 3.5 pound lobster. It's beautiful. Look at that.
Hi, nice to meet you.
You say live lobster, it's live. See that? That's how you can tell. This is how I tell if they're alive. If they're dead, they can't pull themselves up like. Did you see it the first time? Yeah. So there you have it. That's fried chicken for one. You come to Ben Benson's, you order a fried chicken, or a platter of fried chicken, that's what you get. One bird. 3-pound bird for one person. Hey, they don't scrimp. It's a good doggy bag item. That's beautiful. Look at that skin. Just beautifully crisp. Little bubbles. That's going to be delicious. Yum, yum.
The specials were foisted upon us almost because we have so many customers that eat here, if not daily, at least 3 times a week, twice a week, regular customers who have been here for the 22 years we've been here. And they want variety in our lunch menu because they're here all the time.
Yeah.
So we started to put specials on every day, and they just got snapped up. No matter what we put on, the specials go out.
Yeah, but they're great too. They're really, really well done. And the sides are great. I mean, you talk about cream spinach as if it's the easiest thing in the world. And while I'll agree it's ubiquitous in steakhouse restaurants, I'll also tell you that there's a lot of famous steakhouses that are just terrible.
Yeah.
I mean, I've had hash browns at unnamed steakhouses that cost $9 or $10 that I wouldn't feed to a dog. I mean, you've sort of got these stuff spot on.
Well, I make a fetish out of my spoon being in the cream spinach every day to make sure that it has, because things do change. If you don't watch them, they do change. So I have what I call a Hellman's complex. I won't buy some other mayonnaise because they tell me when they try to sell it to me that I'm going to save $8,000 a year by not having Hellman's. I want Hellman's in my product. And I do that with everything that we buy. I will not buy anything but prime meat. Don't go down to the fish market or send somebody down to the fish market to buy what's the cheapest fish that day. We get the best steak fish we can get. We get the fish that we know our customers are going to want, no matter what the price, in terms of what it costs me. We don't go out looking for the bargain. We go out looking for the product.
All right, what I just held up was the actual USDA. It's a shield stamp. It says prime. Prime grades 1, 2, or 3. That was the third grade prime. 2% of the cattle in America grades prime. So all these places that say prime rib, we use prime meat, dry age prime. Yeah, go in the walk-in box and you show me prime. Choice maybe, standard sometimes. Angus, not bad beef, but prime. 2% of the meat in America grades this way, and that's because it's got this great marble. Beautiful uniform, all the white is uniformly flecked through the meat. So every bite you get is fat meat, fat meat, fat meat. Supermarket meat just doesn't look like this, doesn't have that kind of marble. That's flavor, that's prime, that's what grades prime. Is that a lobster tail or is that a shrimp? This is your classic steakhouse shrimp cocktail. 3 of these boys, that's a half a pound of shrimp right here. 8 to a pound, you got 4, that's at least a half a pound of shrimp. They're beautiful. Great cocktail sauce. You want to make it hotter, you add your own horseradish, stir it in, adjust it as you go. Classic. This is classic old school. So you want to make onion rings, you batter them to order. You slice them, you break them up into rings, then they go into buttermilk, into seasoned flour, shake these out, pop them in there, and we'll show you some onion rings when they come out. That's old school. Shakes off all the excess flour, bingo.
And I've done the same thing with our drinks. My managers for years have been saying, got to make the drinks a little bit smaller. We don't make as much money. I'd rather make half the amount of money and know I'm going to be here forever. That was the concept when I opened the place. Give people a super value for their money. It's an expensive restaurant, not as compared to the fancy French restaurants, but it's an expensive restaurant. But value-wise, I think the New York Steakhouse are the best value in town.
Yeah, and that's great advice for, I think, any restaurateur opening up. What you just said, as a philosophy. Is buy great stuff, don't scrimp on ingredients, and, do a straightforward job with it, and the people come back.
Yeah.
7 days a week, 20-some years. And never any ideas of opening up a Ben Benson's too, and the Hamptons, or Ben Benson's goes to Vegas? Or?
No, I've been invited by the hotels in Vegas. I've been invited down to, Boca Raton in Florida and the resort areas. And it's tempting because you go to a place like Vegas and it's a Saturday night every night. Business is just incredible. But I'm very happy with my life. I love being in this place. I don't believe that you can run a chain of restaurants and have the same quality that you can get when there's an owner on premises with his spoon in the cream spinach. And I've gotten to a point in my life where I don't want to travel. As I said, I've been invited to go to Boca Raton and open a restaurant, and I don't want to go to 34th Street.
That's far enough south.
Yeah. The thing that makes me the most proud here is when I stand at the door on a Saturday night and listen to people on the way out. The unsolicited comments that come to me, to quote my grandmother, I fell every night when people talk to me on the way out. And on my commercials, I always say, they all end with the same line, which I just came popping out of my mouth. And when you're in, come over and say hello to me. Well, the waiters every Saturday night, Ben, you got to go over to table 19. They're asking, and it's incredible, the reception from that, and the people that really get a kick out of. I gotta say it. I do a good job tableside. I think I have a good sense of humor.
You've been doing it long enough.
And I do a good job with the guests, and they love it. It makes coming back here so much more fun.
Yeah, it's nice to get a positive feedback, isn't it? Yeah. Well, thanks for having us, Ben. Thank you very, very much. It's a pleasure, and I wish you 22 more great years here.
Oh yeah, I got 12 more years on the lease, and I'm going to negotiate another 15.
That's good. New Yorkers are lucky. Well, thank you. Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Ben Benson. You know, I love the guy. First of all, he's there all the time. There's a Ben Benson at Ben Benson's. You know, some of these restaurants, these franchises these days, who's there? Who's the owner? Who's the chef? I don't know. And then you got these superstar chefs. They're never even at the restaurants 90% of the time, you know? Ben's one of these old school guys. He's in the shop every day, just like his commercial says. And he's a class act. He's really a great guy, great human being, big heart, wonderful man, New York story. And he goes back to that whole time, those early New York days of the 60s and 70s, you know, of Maxwell's Plum and, you know, those early restaurant scene. And he and Alan Stillman, who's an icon, and we're going to do a show on Alan, a separate show this season. Alan opened up TGI Fridays in whatever it was, 1970-something, to meet stewardesses. I mean, you know, there's a guy, I want to meet chicks, let's buy a bar. That's what he did. He opened up they bought a bar on the Upper East Side. That became TGI Fridays. Ben was involved in that later on, helped the beginning of the franchising of that model. They sold it, and the two of them opened up Smith & Wollensky. So Ben Benson, Alan Stillman, the early days, amicably went their separate ways. Alan has the empire now, the whole Smith & Wollensky group, and Ben's got his store, and that's what he wants. He wants this one store. He loves it. He loves to go to work every day. He's there. Like he says, he's got a spoon in the cream spinach. He really does. I've seen it. Great menu, great all-American menu. You can bring your aunt from Topeka, your cousin from Toronto, your father from Chicago. You can bring your kids and your foodie friends, and everyone's going to find something they like on the menu because it's one of those menus you can just recognize. It's simple, all-American, iconic cooking. Which got me to thinking, so what do I make for a show like this? Well, you know, it's easy to dismiss simple things. It's easy to dismiss the familiar as you know, not good or as blasé, but there's something great about that kind of cooking. So, prime rib. Something you always think about at restaurants, you never think about doing it at home. Not that hard to do, to get a standing rack of rib, standing rib rack, whatever they call it, and roast it at home. Doesn't take any time. Just sear it really well in the oven, get going. So today we're going to do that, and we're going to have this sample here, this little rib rack. We're going to go right down to it. This obviously, if you take the side cut, no way that's prime, baby. That's supermarket junk. Very little marble in here, but you know what? This cost me $40, $50 at the supermarket. If I bought that at LaBelle's, I'd have to mortgage my house. So we'll skip the thing. And you know, when I'm done with this, it's going to taste great. Season the heck out of it. Salt, a lot of pepper, cracked pepper from the mill. Get tremendous color on the outside in my cast iron pan. Then it goes in the oven and I cook it really slowly. I've played around with rib roasts and I find this works the best. I get a great yield, the meat's really tender, the oven's 300 degrees barely, and it's in there for 3-4 hours. You can play around at golf and come back, pull this thing out. It's perfect medium rare and you have dinner. No muss, no fuss, and the meat cooks well that way. So we'll see how to do that. And then I'm going to make, I love iceberg lettuce. Every summer I make a big batch of Thousand Island or Russian dressing, a big batch, and I keep it in my fridge, and all the time for a snack, I'll have a wedge of iceberg, Thousand Island dressing, and a couple of chunks of those big fresh Jersey tomatoes. Something about the tomato mayonnaise and the tomatoes themselves and the iceberg. It's heaven, man. I mean, it's a great, you know, I'm getting sick of eating like mosh and baby, you know, those little lettuces, you know, like, you know, microgreens. Enough already. What do I look like, a lamb? I mean, this stuff is crunchy. It's refreshing. If you haven't had iceberg in a while, revisit it. This stuff's great. So when I'm doing this retro cooking, I go into my book collection here. This is a classic. Anybody that collects American cookbooks, eat your heart out. This is one of the not too many copies of the Epicurean, which is Charles Ranhofer's Delmonico's cookbook. So I use this, and I use this one over here. Here, she's great. Here, Mary McBride. There she is. Mary. She looks serious, doesn't she? Yeah. Mary McBride's Harvest of American Cooking. I'm going to make Russian dressing, a classic. So I'm going to use half of this, because if you go through the trouble of making this, it lasts basically forever in your fridge. This recipe is for 2 cups, which is basically plus or minus half of one of these big boys here. And that gets us started with the mayonnaise part. This is sweet relish. There isn't any in my recipe, but I'm adding some anyway. A little bit of Worcestershire sauce. A little less than a tablespoon. 2/3 of a cup of chili sauce. This is what makes it red. and gives it that sort of interesting flavor background. Pimentos. Normally I use my own oven roasted peppers, which I do all summer and winter long, but I don't have any today. So there's nothing wrong with this. These are beautiful. You can see they're burnt. You can see that skin that's left over, so these are done the right way. All right. A couple tablespoons of chopped onion. And this is really just for flavor and texture. You can use scallions too if you want, sort of in the onion family. And I want these pretty fine. A little bit of green pepper. This is sweet paprika. And it's just probably a tablespoon or so. This is for more color and a little bit of flavor. And 2 tablespoons of ketchup. Well, that's 1 big tablespoon, and another big tablespoon. And we're going to mix this all together here. Yep, we look like Thousand Island dressing, or Russian dressing. Anytime you make flavored mayonnaise, if you make any kind of mayonnaise at home, garlic mayonnaise, lemon mayonnaise, mayonnaise-based dressings, make them a day ahead because they really taste super after 24 hours. They actually get better over time. When you first make them, if I taste this now, it's hard to tell if it's right or if it's wrong, but the flavors really meld under refrigeration in 24 hours. So we'll make this and use this on the when we're cooking tomorrow for the salad. And again, this will stay in your refrigerator all summer long. I make batches of this and just go, eat it by the tablespoon on top of Iceberg. It's great. As I said, this is supermarket grade, just choice beef, nothing fancy, very little marble. It's going to need all the help we can give it. So to that end, we're going to season it like crazy. And season it everywhere. Remember, a lot of this stuff comes off when it cooks, folks, so don't be terrified here. No one's going to get a heart attack here. A lot of this salt ends up in the bottom of the pan. Just the principle of it. The principle behind this is simple. We're going to get all the color that this roast is going to have from the pan now, because the oven's going to be turned down very low when the roast goes in. Again, over the years I've worked, primarily I've done since I was a kid in restaurants, and I've seen it done many, many, many different ways. And this is actually the way where I think you get the best flavor, best yield, tender, juicy meat, and you can almost assure you're going to get medium rare color. Another hint, I've also had this at room temperature for about 45 minutes to an hour, so it's not coming from the refrigerator into the pan, into the oven. The meat's been sitting. Now, these pans take a while to get hot, too. The good news is that they take a while to get hot. They'll hold the heat. That's also true with a good quality pan. So when you put something in it, the temperature doesn't drop. That's why they make those big, heavy professional pans that are so thick, where they've got stainless steel around a copper core or an aluminum core. Heavier the pan, longer it takes to get hot. But then once you put food in it, the temperature of the pan doesn't drop. So this pan's 500 degrees and I put something in it, pan stays close to 500, whereas the really thin pans that get hot in a hurry, put food in it, they just lose their temperature. So that's one of the beauties of cast iron. All right, that oil's beginning to smoke. Let it sit. All right, I haven't touched this. It's just where we dropped it. It's been here about close to 5 minutes and beginning to get some nice color. Now we'll do the sides. Now we're going to turn it right over to the other side. And you see, we're getting really nice color around here. This is exactly what we want before we put it in the oven. Completely covered in that crust is what I'm trying to do. This is turn number 3 or 4, I'm losing count, but see the color I have there? That's what I want. Now I want this back side to get color. So we'll kind of prop it up like this, and then we'll turn it over one more time. All right, let's take a look at this now. I think we kind of got her where we want her. Yeah, that's good. So what we've really done is given this meat, it's been about a half an hour all told, but it's got all the color on the outside that you would normally associate with long roasting. But we did it in the pan on the oven, on the stovetop I mean. We didn't have to do it in the oven. So now I've got the color established that I want, which is a big flavor component in all these roasts. Having achieved the color, I lowered the temperature down to about 275. And this is going to be in there for at least 3 hours, maybe 4. So you can actually go run errands, take a trip, play 9 holes of golf, go to the beach, do whatever, see a movie, knowing nothing's going to happen in the oven bad. All right, we're gonna check the roast. Been in here for, I don't know, 3-4 hours. Looks delicious, smells like prime rib. It's gonna go right into the thickest part of it. It's close. It's close. Turn it up and down and let it sit.
What were you doing there?
Just feeling the, should be a little warm. I don't know these exact temperatures. You know, if I was a good TV show, I'd go 137 degrees is what you want for medium rare. But I don't know, do chefs cook like that really? I mean, they stick things in and you taste it and you kind of go, yeah, it's warm. Good, medium rare. I don't know. Maybe they are using thermometers nowadays. Who knows? Iceberg 101. We're going to take out the core. Just whack it and pull. Just a big old wedge. This is a small head. Maybe we'll go like this. 1, 2, kind of like that. I like that. That'll work. Generous dollop of this creamy mayonnaise-based zingy dressing. That looks good. I don't know about you. In the summer, I love this. Some fresh tomato slices on the outside of this. A couple turns of the pepper mill. Beautiful. See, that's what I love about this. Crunchy. Well, it really does have an interesting flavor. I swear, some of this hydroponic, you know, mescaline stuff, to me, tastes like nothing. Tastes like when you mow the lawn. That's great. I love this salad. All it's missing for me is tomatoes around it. That's wonderful. Classic, retro, American cooking. That if you make it right, you can't beat it. That's great. And you could also use this dressing in sandwiches. Yeah, instead of mayonnaise. A little smear of this stuff. Didn't they use that? What, is it Reuben or something? I don't know. Classic deli sandwich, I think, do something like this, but I love that. Now let's get to the rib. All right. All right, I'm going to take this off the bone. Just in order to carve it. We're really going to have to do that anyway. So. That's that. And this meat here is fantastic. Do not let that go to waste. A little bit of salt thrown on this. When I was a kid, this is what we used to eat. We served the customers their ribs, and we ate this. And in my opinion, we got the better deal. This meat's fantastic. So I'm going to clean that off, put that on some lucky soul's plate with a little bit of salt and pepper. Bones, this is pretty much all gone. Now you've got an end cut here, if you like your end cuts. And then here you've got your center. And I took this out, I guess 15, 20 minutes ago, so it's really composed. And it's just your basic medium rare, real simple, on a plate. Salt and pepper. That's just a little bit of good sea salt, a couple of turns from the pepper mill, and that's a beautiful thing. Prime rib, you know, potatoes, carrots, whatever you want to do around it, but that's a classic. No reason you can't do it at home. It's as simple as can be. So, you know, Ben Benson, I can't wait to spend more time with you. I'm going to hang out because, you know, one of these days he's going to retire. He's going to find out. Actually, I don't think so. I take that back. Ben's not going to retire. What's in Florida? He's like, what did Ben say? I don't want to go south of 34th Street. So I don't think he's going to Florida, but he's a class act. I love the guy. He's got a ton of stories. He's been in this business since I was a baby, and he's a great old pro. And to me, the theme is this classic modern American, you know, classic cooking modernized, just really good stuff that anybody can get, that people from all around the country can get, that, you know, Europeans who come here that want to see sort of a classic American cooking. That's it. That's great stuff, and they're doing a super job. So at home, we should do this kind of stuff too. It's fun. So on that note, I'll keep quiet. I want to get into that rib and eat. So till next time, be well.